Today, I'm reviewing and testing all of AUXITO's LED headlights. Which one is best, which one is worst, and which one should you get for your vehicle? I'll show you. Hello and welcome to Car Light Reviews. I started making LED review and test videos on my other channel, In Jason's Garage, a few years ago. And the first was an LED headlight bulb replacement by AUXITO known as the B1. And that video was the first of many that followed, and is eventually what led me to making this channel, Car Light Reviews. So I think that it's only appropriate that for my first video here, I review and test all of what AUXITO currently has to offer. I've also been recommending this one a lot since I originally reviewed it a couple years ago, because I've been actually personally running it on one of my own vehicles since then, and I still have them installed to this day without issues. Let's see if my recommendations were correct on the Y13. I sure hope so. Now for each one of these, I'm going to do an introduction and an unboxing, go over the published specs, cover some of the features, and then I'm going to test the brightness and light pattern for both projector and reflector housings and see how it performs. Now here is how I test LED headlights. For projector testing, I made a test rig using a 2017 Toyota Camry H11 headlight projector. And for reflector testing, I use an H11 headlight from a 2018 Ford F-150. I use these specifically because they are among the best-selling vehicles in America for over 20 years and are the most common on the road. I'll power the lights using a benchtop power supply, and I'll position the light's hotspot onto a lux meter that is 20 feet away, mounted on my garage door. I'll record the initial brightness and then again after 27 minutes to document how well the light manages heat. I use 27 minutes because that's the average commute time in the United States. My tests aren't for lux number accuracy, but for comparison to a stock H11 halogen bulb, which measures 725 projected lux and 910 reflected lux using my test method. Different tests in different environments will give you different results. So if you want to do the same tests of your own, I list all of the equipment I use in the description of this video. Now please check the description of the video for some important notes on aiming headlights, how to ensure you've picked the right headlight for your application, and the legality of replacing halogen headlight bulbs with LEDs. Let's take another look at the AUXITO Y13, the same one that I've been running in my vehicle for 2 years and recommend quite often. Thank you card, user manual as always, some zip ties, and as you can see right there, an Allen wrench. You'll find out why in a second. Okay, let's get into the published specs on this one. 40 watts published per light, 8,000 lumens, 6500K color temperature, has an LMP chip in it. It does have an adjustable ring. That's what we need that Allen wrench for right there. Does have a fan to cool it, and it has an external driver, non-polarity sensitive plug, IP rating of 67, lifespan of 50,000 hours, 2-year warranty, and a price at the time of this video, $49.99. So this is a unique one. This is nothing like the other ones that AUXITO makes. This kind of stands on its own. And I've been impressed with this for quite a while. And now that I've revised my testing methods, we're going to see how well my recommendations stand. Okay, here we go for the projector test results. Initial light, 1053 lux, that's 328 over the stock 725. After 27 minutes, retains a very impressive 89% of that initial light. So it results in 939 after 27 minutes, still 214 lux over stock. Let's take a look at how the projector compares to stock. Check out the interesting output on this one. So it has less of a weak spot in the lower middle like the others, but it does have a bit more narrow light output area vertically. This may be due to the design being different than everything else. Now let's take a look at the reflector test results. Initial light output, 2080, 1170 over the stock 910, and after 27 minutes, 1855 lux, an impressive 945 lux over stock. Let's take a look at how the light pattern is. According to my testing, this light might be just a bit better for projectors than reflectors. We've got a bit of scattering here, here, and here. So I'd use this in projectors cautiously. Now, it might not be a problem, because remember how I mentioned that I've been using them for roughly 2 years in one of my personal vehicles? That's in a reflector housing. I just make sure that I aim them correctly, and again, so far, haven't had a single issue. My observed wattage was 27.8, which is 12.2 watts less than published. Now for heat management, this is where this thing shines. After 27 minutes, my laser thermometer recorded just 122 degrees Fahrenheit. Nice and cool. That's less than half of what stock is. Stock runs typically around 300 degrees Fahrenheit. And the driver, well, that's doing the work that it should. It's keeping that heat isolated from the main unit. 154 degrees, that's about average for an external driver headlight. So far, this light has not been proving my recommendations wrong. This is the Y19, and see how it compares, and if it can be considered related to the success that I think the Y13 should have. Now, like my other LED headlight videos, I'm going to do an unboxing, go over the published specs, and then cover some of the features, and then I'm going to test the brightness and light pattern for both projector and reflector housings and see how it performs. So let's start with the unboxing. Anti-static gloves. User manual, you probably don't need it like the other ones. It is plug and play. Simply remove your factory headlamp and install this one. You do get some zip ties and an Allen wrench because it does have an adjustable collar, which you'll see. And here it is. Okay, let's go over the published specifications of this AUXITO Y19. 60 watts each, 12,000 lumens each, a color temperature of 6500 K. It has a CSP chip and an IP rating of 67 and an hour rating of 50,000 hours. As you saw, it does have an adjustable collar, and that's what the Allen wrench is for. It is fan cooled, and it does have an external driver with built-in CAN bus. It has a warranty of 2 years, just like all AUXITO lights, and the price at the time of this video before any discounts is $79.99 per pair. Speaking of discounts, see the description for a special coupon code where you can pick this or any other AUXITO light up at a discount. So while the name Y19 might imply that it is in the same design family of the Y13, as you can see, they are clearly not even close, nor are they even in the same price range. But I am excited to see how well this performs, and if you are watching this, I know you are too, so let's move ahead. So here's my initial observations of this light. You can tell it's got a very straightforward design. Nothing special, no ornate designs or any scallops or anything like that. It is very, very business, all business. And there's nothing wrong with that, especially when you can't really see this light after you install it in your vehicle. It does have a shallow fan, and that's good for those who have dust caps. It's about the same distance as the Y13, so if you're considering upgrading from the Y13, this will fit under your dust caps if that does. And I did take some measurements from the back side of the collar edge right here to the trailing edge of the fan. It's about 30 millimeters. And has a diameter of about 35 millimeters in case you need to test to make sure it'll fit underneath your dust caps. When I was doing some preliminary testing, I noticed that the fan was slightly quieter than average. I know some of you like to know that. You can see here it's got twin cooling pipes. The driver is your standard AUXITO driver. And the cables are also on the standard side. But overall, it's on par with AUXITO quality. Now, before I move ahead, if you find any of my videos helpful to you enjoying your car more and saving money, do me a favor, click on the thumbs up, click on the thanks icon, and subscribe to this channel and hit the bell if you haven't already. And don't forget my Patreon page. And finally, if nothing else, at least use the links in the description below if you want to purchase LED lights based on my reviews. It really helps this channel at no additional cost or effort to you, and I really appreciate everyone's support. So now, let's see how the newest AUXITO LED light upgrade performs. For the projector, the initial output is 1,573 lux, 848 over the halogen 725 baseline luck measurement. This is slightly above average initial projector light output of the lights I tested in all of 2022. And after 27 minutes, the average commute time in the United States, it does a good job of retaining that light output, keeping 82% of it. This is slightly above the average of the lights I've also tested in 2022. That results in 1,290 lux, or 565 lux over the halogen baseline. Once again, slightly higher than my average tests. Now let's take a look compared to stock. It's got a good clear cutoff, but the cutoff is on the higher side compared to the hotspot. So you're going to have to aim these a little more carefully to make sure they project a useful distance without blinding oncoming drivers. Again, aiming your headlights is very important. Now the common weak spot that is normally here has been filled in quite a bit, which is good, especially if your vehicle doesn't have fog lights. Now let's have a look at the reflector output. For the reflector, it's pretty bright. 3,160 lux, which is 2,250 over the halogen baseline of 910 lux. And after 27 minutes of runtime keeping that 82% light output, it is reduced to 2,591 lux, or 1,681 over halogen. Once again, both numbers slightly above average of my testing. Not bad. Now looking at the reflector light pattern compared to halogen, it does pretty well for a brighter light. It maintains the control real nicely. And I think it's fair to say that it is also slightly above average for the lights I've tested. Now you might be noticing a pattern here with the Y19. As mentioned, there is a published rating of 60 watts per light, and I observed 52.4. And for heat management after 27 minutes of runtime, the average commute time in the United States, my FLIR thermal camera recorded, you guessed it, right around average 219 degrees Fahrenheit or 104 degrees Celsius for the main unit, and slightly above average 154 degrees Fahrenheit or 68 degrees Celsius for the driver. Is the AUXITO Q16. This one comes with some anti-static gloves. As always, a user manual. So obviously, this is another all-in-one unit, a little bit beefier than the previous two that I showed you today. Let's get into the published specs. 50 watts and published 10,000 lumens each. This is supposed to be very, very bright. We're going to find out. Color temperature of 6,000 K. It does have a CSP chip. It does not have an adjustable ring. It does have this fan that fires that way instead of out the back like the first one, the 10S. It does have an internal driver, and it does not have a polarity sensitive plug. This is very similar to the previous all-in-ones from AUXITO. IP rating, IP67, lifespan of 50,000 hours, 2-year warranty, and a price at the time of this one on the higher side compared to the other ones, $63.99. So for all the impressive numbers on this, how does it stack up when it comes to the real world brightness? Let's find out. The initial projector test results, 1,752 lux. That is 1,027 over the 725 lux stock. After 27 minutes, it did retain only 70% of that light, but still a very, very bright 1,229 lux, 504 above stock. Let's take a look at the projector light pattern compared to stock. You might start seeing a trend here. The brighter the light, the more the weak spot is on the projector right here in the lower middle area. And again, this is likely due to it overpowering the reflector, and the reflector just isn't designed to handle something this bright. For the reflector test results, this is just incredibly bright. 3,140 lux. That is 2,230 over the stock 910 lux. And after 27 minutes, it's reduced down to 2,203 lux. Still 1,293 lux over stock. Let's see how the reflector can handle all this light. Just as I expected, it's pretty bright. And you can see that here, right here on the right side. It's just not quite as full and doesn't have the same shape as stock. And it's probably because it's just simply overpowering the light housing. Obviously, this thing is a monster. The observed wattage is only 7.2 watts less than the published 50 watts. So it's really cranking out a lot of power. Now for heat management, after 27 minutes, my laser thermometer recorded that fact, that it's cranking out a lot of power. It runs pretty hot, 168 degrees Fahrenheit. So yes, it runs very, very bright, but as a result, it also runs very, very hot. Something that you need to take into consideration. Let's move on to the AUXITO M3. Like all the others, comes with the manual. Let's take a look. Published specs are 26 watts each, 6,000 lumens each, color temperature of 6,500 K, has a ZES chip, and it does not have an adjustable ring. It is fan cooled. This one fires off the side instead of straight back like the 10S that I mentioned earlier in this video. Of course, with it being an all-in-one unit, it has an internal driver, does not have a polarity sensitive plug, has an IP rating of 65, lifespan of 30,000 hours, warranty just like the other ones, 2 years, and the price at the time of this video, not including any discounts, $39.99. Let's take a look at the projector test results. Initial light output, 1,357 lux, which is 632 above the 725 lux stock. After 27 minutes, 996, which is still 271 lux above stock, retaining that 73% of the light output. Taking a look at the projector light pattern compared to stock, slightly weaker than the others so far in the lower middle because this is approaching twice as bright as stock. So it's probably a case where I mention often that the projector housing that I'm using doesn't quite know how to handle all the light output. This is actually a pretty bright little light. So that lower middle area being a little bit weak is expected. For the reflector test results, 1,980 lux. That's 1,070 over the stock 910. After 27 minutes, it is reduced to 1,453 lux, still 543 over stock. And comparing the light pattern with stock, reflector handled the light very, very well with minimal scattering in the usual place. Kind of surprising. Some additional observations on this one. As I mentioned, 26 watts each. I measured 22.2, just 3.8 watts less than published. Not bad, a little bit better than the other ones I've tested so far. For heat management, after 27 minutes, my laser thermometer recorded 121 degrees Fahrenheit. That's not very bad at all, considering it's a compact all-in-one light. This one performed pretty well in this test, and I'm actually quite surprised. For an all-in-one unit, this one's not bad. Comes with a quick product manual. Comes with some extra seals for the collar. So the published specifications on this, 26 watts each, 6,000 lumens each, color temperature of 6,000 K. It has a ZES chip. It does not have an adjustable ring, but it is fan cooled. It has an internal driver, as you can see, and it does not have a polarity sensitive plug. The IP rating on this one is IP67, a lifespan of 50,000 hours. All of the AUXITO lights have a 2-year warranty, and the price at the time of this video is $48.99. Let's see how it performed. For the projector test results, it is 1,186 initial lux, which is 461 over the stock 725 lux. After 27 minutes, it retains 76% of that light output, making it 900 lux even, which is still 175 over stock. And looking at the projector light pattern compared to stock, it has a pretty good projector cutoff, a slight weak spot right here, which is common for brighter LED lights. For the reflector test results, I measure 1,560 lux, which is 650 over the halogen 910 lux. After 27 minutes, it's reduced to 1,184 lux, which is still 274 over stock. Looking at the light pattern compared to stock, has pretty good reflector light control, just a bit of scattering in the lower left, also common with brighter lights. Some additional observations about this is that the published wattage, as I mentioned, was 26. I observed 16.6, 9.4 watts lower than published. And for heat management, after 27 minutes, my laser thermometer recorded 142 degrees Fahrenheit, and there is no driver because it's an internal driver. So it is slightly on the warmer side, but heat management wasn't too bad. Something else that I noticed is that it had a pretty quiet fan on this one. So if you don't like the fan noise, this wouldn't be too bad of a choice. Now let's take a look at the AUXITO B3. Comes with a Ziploc bag with, again, a brief user manual in it, some zip ties and double-sided tape. And the published specs, 18 watts each, 5,500 lumens each, color temperature of 6,500 K. It has a CSP Y22 chip. It does not have an adjustable ring that I could see. It does not have a fan, and it does have an external driver. It does not have a polarity sensitive plug. The IP rating on this one, IP65, lifespan of 30,000 hours, 2-year warranty like all the AUXITO lights, and the price at the time of this video, $46. Taking a look at the projector test results, the initial was 548 lux. Unfortunately, that's 177 lux lower than the 725 stock. After 27 minutes, it retains 80% of that light output, making it 438 lux, 287 lux lower than stock. Looking at the projector light pattern of the B3 compared to stock, has the best projector replication, but it should considering it's not any brighter. And for the reflector test results, initial was 1,114, which is 204 above stock, but unfortunately again, after 27 minutes, it drops down to 890, which is 20 lux below stock for the reflector test. Compared the light patterns from the B3 to stock, the reflector does have some scatter right here, which is odd since the light isn't as bright as stock, but otherwise, nothing too noteworthy on this one. Some other observations. It is published at 18 watts, as I mentioned. However, my observed wattage is 13.9, which is 4 watts below the published. And for heat management, after 27 minutes, my laser thermometer recorded 167 degrees Fahrenheit for the main unit and 159 degrees for the driver. That's pretty hot, especially for a light that just doesn't have very good output. So unfortunately, the heat management on this one just is not great. If it had very, very high output, I can understand why it would be so bright. So it's kind of confusing as to why the output was so low, yet the heat was so high. So now that you've seen all the data, these are the results according to my opinion, based on my testing. In 5th place, I'd have to say the B3. This one, I would say, is the spiritual successor to the B1 that I did in my very first video. It's similar, has the similar features without a fan, but it does have an external driver. But quite simply, this one's not worth buying. While the light pattern was decent, it wasn't as bright as OEM halogen, which is why the pattern was like OEM, because there's no way it could overpower the housing. Surprisingly, it also ran extremely hot, despite the low lux output and the external driver. Overall, this is just a step back from stock. I can't recommend it. There's much better lights for the money. For 4th place, I'd say the Q16. Now, it was very bright, to the point of being ridiculous for an all-in-one unit, but it also got hot fast. The output dropped fast. It did level off about halfway through the 27-minute test, but as I mentioned, the brightness comes at a penalty of the heat. So it might not do well in housings that can't handle the sheer output of this light output monster. It might have overpowered my test projector because there it had the biggest weak spot near the lower middle of the projector light output. However, as I mentioned, that brightness comes at a cost. It retained only 70% of the initial light output after 27 minutes, ranking it lowest in that category for this video, yet was the hottest after the same amount of time. This means that I question the longevity of this one. It's also the most expensive of all in the AUXITO lineup, over $60. So it does have a few strikes against it, but if you want the absolute brightest AUXITO out of the box, this is the one. For 3rd place, I'd put the 10S in that slot. Now, I currently prefer an LED replacement light that has an external driver for heat management and longevity, but these all-in-one styles are starting to get my attention. Now, this one's balanced a bit better than the Q16. It was the 3rd brightest out of 5, and it retained a bit better output after 27 minutes compared to the Q16, but it ran a bit cooler, and it's also more affordable than the Q16. For the money, this one is not bad at all. You can get it sometimes on Amazon. If not, you buy it direct from AUXITO. Use coupon code CarLightReviews for a discount of 15% off your entire order. I'd put the M3 in 2nd place in this shootout. Now, I had a hard time determining what would be second in my test between this one and the 10S. They both had similar output characteristics, but the M3 is the cheapest of the entire lineup, but was second in terms of brightness behind the Q16. And while it didn't retain the brightness as well as the 10S at the 27-minute mark, it still remained second in brightness after 27 minutes. It ran much cooler, 21 degrees Fahrenheit cooler. For an all-in-one, this is a very good light for the money. That leaves the Y13 in 1st place. I still believe it is the best overall for the money from AUXITO, and I still recommend it. Here's why. The design is very well done, the materials are quality, and while all-in-one styles are getting better, again, as I mentioned, I still prefer an external driver myself for heat management and longevity. It had a good cutoff except for being narrow, and it did have a touch of scattering in the reflector in the upper left corner, so be sure to aim it carefully. Now, it's not the brightest initially. It came in at 4th place, but because it's so efficient, it retained the most light output after 27 minutes percentage-wise. Basically, it faded less over time, usage, and heat. I think this is the best balanced light AUXITO makes for the money, and it's what I'll continue to recommend for under $50 until I test something that's better. So I think this light does a pretty good job and is on par with AUXITO quality and performance. And I think it's above average in every way, and you might agree based on my testing. But it is also slightly, and I do mean slightly, above average in terms of price, at least before discounts. here's what I'm saying. If you like the numbers and the light output pattern test from this video, this is a good light to get, especially if you can use a coupon code. And you are in luck, because if you use the links in the description of this video, as mentioned, it supports this channel at no cost at all to you. And if you order direct from AUXITO, use coupon code CarLightReviews and you will definitely save some money. So there you go. You can get an above average LED light for a below average cost. Now, I got to circle back to the Y13. Does the Y19 perform better? Well, I say yes, but you're also comparing apples to oranges. There are two different styles of LED lights at two different price points. Let your budget and needs guide you. And that coupon code, CarLightReviews, that I told you to use when you're buying direct from AUXITO, well, that code works on all AUXITO lights. The Y13, the Y19, all of them. Thank me later. Links to all these lights are in the description below. You can get them on both Amazon and direct from AUXITO. If you buy direct, be sure to use coupon code CarLightReviews. You'll get a discount on your entire order, as I mentioned. If you want to download a spreadsheet with all of the specs of all these lights and my test results for your own comparisons, you can find a link in the description as well that I'll be updating with every video release I make. Now, if you found this video helpful, valuable, or entertaining, please visit my Patreon page to learn how you can support this channel and help me make more videos for it. If you got a suggestion on what I should test in the future, please leave a comment. I'll definitely check into it. And if you like this style of video, I've got more that I'm working on that I'll be releasing regularly in the future. For example, soon I'll review and test one that many of you have wanted me to test for a long time, the mighty GTR Ultra 2. Is it as good as they say it is? Well, we're going to find out along with many other popular LED lights. So please be sure to subscribe to CarLight Reviews and share as you see fit. As always, thanks for watching. I hope this video helps you to find the right lighting upgrades for your needs so you can enjoy your car more. Keep your headlights aimed, drive safely, responsibly, and respectfully.